Happy Friday, April 12th. Welcome inside the vault. I'm Bobby Trossett, as always, joined alongside Sarah Ellison. I feel like today's just an awesome Friday. The Orioles are in town tonight. Jackson Holliday gets his home debut in front of the home ballpark. You've got day 2 of the Masters going on right now in front of behind my camera. You've got under 2 weeks out from the NFL draft, and we're about to do a little Ravens lunch hour live stream brought to you by our friends at Manta Sleep. How are you, partner?
I'm good. I'm ready for the weekend, ready to chat Ravens. Let's do it.
And we're both ready for this because we're closing in on it. We had our last sort of housekeeping meeting surrounding the logistics of this event yesterday. There's going to be more, actually, probably not the last, probably the first, because we're about to get into the nitty gritty details of our inaugural marathon draft party live stream, which is coming up April 25th, Thursday night, to celebrate opening night of the NFL draft from a Ravens perspective. We're hosting it at Soundstage, our first ever legitimate work with a concert venue. It's a concert hall located in downtown Baltimore, right across the street from Power Plant in the Inner Harbor, for those of you familiar. $40 gets you inside the door. Tickets are available right now on Ticketmaster. We have that direct link in the show notes below. The tailgate buffet options will be provided by Clean Cuisine. Awesome, awesome food locally here in the Owings Mills area. It will be streamed on YouTube and across all platforms if you can't join us in person. So please consider coming out or joining us virtually, of course, for an important event. In terms of the outline of what we have coming up for you today, we'll begin with the Brandon Aiyuk sort of chatter, I guess is the right word. Lamar apparently followed him on Instagram, so we'll have some screenshots of that and explain why it's very unlikely that a trade would take place between the 49ers and Ravens in that category. Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk basically labeled the Ravens as second fiddle to the Chiefs, which we've heard before. But the analogy, I think you and I both sort of, it resonated a lot of because of your geography earlier on in life and my love for the NBA. So we'll get to that and plenty more. But we'll begin with the Brandon Aiyuk chatter.
Brandon Aiyuk. So, very recently, turns out Lamar Jackson started following Brandon Aiyuk on IG, which got some Ravens fans really excited, kind of reading into what this all means. Now, I will say, Bobby, we've had these discussions a lot in the past that I think players these days send off signals through social media more than some of the older group did, as social media was still new. But to the question of the podcast, right? Is Lamar hinting at a trade? I mean, I think he might be hinting that he likes Brandon. I think he's hinting that he wants to see what Brandon's up to by following him on IG. I think that Lamar would love to have Brandon Aiyuk in purple and black. But I have a hard time feeling like a follow means that something is going on, that Eric DaCosta and John Lynch are chatting it up and talking to each other. And maybe there's some more stuff in between, right? Of like Lamar likes him, Lamar's interested in following him, and versus a trade. But I just can't go there. I'm too old school to think that this is signaling that a trade is in the works. But I do think it is noteworthy that there's plenty of wide receivers in the league. As you can see here, Lamar's only following 433 people. It's not all the wide receivers throughout the league. So, it's kind of noteworthy that, on a random week in the offseason, when there's trade talk surrounding him, that he follows him. What that means, I don't know, but I don't think it means that there's a trade in the works.
And if you look specifically at who those followers are, it's mostly, like, to your point, there's not a lot of people that are outside of the South Florida, like, home population for Lamar's background growing up, and outside of the Ravens organization. So maybe at least noteworthy, right, in that sense. But the reality and the likelihood or unlikelihood probably is the right better term for this, given where the Ravens are right now, Now, remember that there was some similar chatter with the days leading up to Derrick Henry. Right? I think he and Keaton Mitchell started following each other. And there must be some people online on X, Quiet Professionals, one of them, who monitor the followers and following.
I was gonna say, how do people see this? Like, does it? I'm not as big. I'm on X all the time. We're on YouTube quite a bit. I'm on IG, but not like. If you're following two people, do you get some sort of alert that they follow each other? Like how are people watching his follows? I don't get it. How do people figure this out?
Right? They're all over it.
They're
And
all
and
over it.
and Quiet Professional was the latest here. I remember Keaton and Derek had similar things. But you mentioned John Lynch, somebody who is revered as a former player and now turned executive for the San Francisco 49ers. Do we have a sense for where is he even open for business?
Well, here's what's funny is obviously trade rumors started because Brandon kind of had expressed that he wanted to go because he's like, why aren't we chatting yet? Like what's going on? So here's the latest that I found coming out of the owners meeting. So just a few weeks ago. And I thought this was kind of a cool story because John Lynch explains this to the media. He says that while he was at the owners meetings, he was talking to Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin. Well, he told the story at owners meetings, but he saw Mike Tomlin at Michigan's pro day the week before. And there's been a lot of rumors that it could be the Steelers who trade for, I feel like the rumors were more about Samuel Debo, but I mean, either one, who wouldn't want either one of these? I can't believe that the
Debo
49ers
Samuel.
have both. Like it's just like complete jealousy over here, right? So anyway, the subject of Brandon Aiyuk comes up. And Tomlin basically says to him, like, what does he say here? So, from the sound of it, Ike is Lynch to do. Tomlin's like, bro, what's going on? Lynch told the media. And he goes, Lynch responds, I promise you, nothing's going on there. Then he goes on to say, not only are we not trading him, and I know that the salary cap is a problem, he goes, but, quote, we're actively talking with Brandon, trying to figure something out. We have a good history of working with the guys we want to get done to get something done, and it takes two sides. So can we do that? We'll see. So he goes on to say that, like, same thing you hear that come out of the Ravens. Like when we draft a guy and we nail the draft pick, like we want to see him, what he's saying, as a 49er for life. Like we're not just going to start giving out the guys that we, and by the way, the 49ers, it had been a minute for them to really hit for them. And they're like, we're not just going to let him go. So now listen, GMs are never going to say, and unless it's like, very eminent or whatever, they're never going to broadcast that they want to try to trade somebody. I mean, that's more behind the scenes. But when you're telling Mike Tomlin straight up, like, I promise you there's nothing there, and on top of it that they're still in talks, then that means there's hope on their side that something's going to get done. Sure. So yeah, it sounds like they're trying to strike a long-term deal.
Now, as for, from Brandon's perspective, he was on the Nightcap podcast with Shannon Sharp and Ocho Cinco. I think it was at the end of last month.
Mm-hmm.
And for his side of the story, he said, I'm trying to get what I deserve.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this season playing football, I figured out who I was as a person and a player, what I bring to the table, what I bring to the locker room, what I bring to the organization, and just the value I hold when I walk in that building. People are going to follow me because I've done it the right way since I've been in that building. From the first day I walked in there to when I was in there earlier this morning, I've done it the right way. If they don't see the worth in that, and he made a walking motion with his hands, that's all it is. It ain't nothing else besides that. I can't get into it. We got professionals working on both sides. So hopefully we can come to a professional agreement and continue playing professional football. That's...
But so he's indicating also, obviously he's saying he wants to get paid what he's worth.
Oh, for sure.
It sounds like he's saying they are talking.
So
it's from both sides.
Right.
Yeah.
You had the executive side.
Yep.
And this is the player side. He was 25th overall in the pandemic draft. 2020. He's now, so that means he's entering the 5th and final year of his deal, which would be just over 14.1 million in 24. But you mentioned it a second ago, with how many assets they have on this team and having to budget right for the eventual payday of Brock Purdy if he continues to play the way he has been in
Mhm.
this unbelievable comeback story as Mr. Irrelevant. Then and you already mentioned the Debos,
Yeah.
like the C-Max that are on this team.
Kittle.
Can they have the Kittles? Got to budget a lot of time to talk about how much money they have to allocate. But can they truly keep everybody and keep everybody happy? And that becomes a
Yeah,
big
no,
challenge for the exec.
the answer is no, but I mean, I think Debo has 2 more years on his contract. At some point, especially what year is Brock Purdy? Was this last year his second year? Is he
I
going
think
into his
so.
third year?
Yeah, I think so. Gotta just check that real
Yeah, and
quick. But
obviously
yeah,
he won't have a 5th-year option, so we got 2 more years there. So they could front load some contracts while they're still not
yeah,
paying Brock.
yeah, yeah. Year
So,
3 for Brock coming up.
but at some point, I feel like either Debo or Aiyuk is gonna be available in the next couple of years here.
Yeah.
And Aiyuk, let's see, he's 26. Debo Samuel is, let's see here. Did you find the information on Brock Purdy? What year did you say?
Yeah, year 3 coming up.
Okay, yeah. So they got time. Debo's 28. So you might see a 29 or 30-year-old Debo on the market somewhat soon. So, all right, but let's say, so it sounds like from both sides, they're playing together still. They're talking, they're actively talking on an extension. That's where it's going. Now, let's say talks break down, okay? And they're just not offering Brandon what he feels he deserves.
Yeah.
Garrett, what's his last name? It's covered up there.
I
But
think it's like Garrett Sprints. I think it's or
at
Garrett Ferguson is the full name.
Yeah,
At
yeah.
Garrett Sprints is his handle. Good follow on X.
Yeah, he's a fun follow, fan follow there. But he put out there to his followers, almost has 2,000 votes. Would you trade number 30 overall for Brandon Aiyuk? Say like talks break down the next couple weeks. 79.3% say yes. 20.7% say no. Do you have an opinion?
Oof. Would I trade the 30th overall? No, I wouldn't. I know the Ravens. I can't see the Ravens doing that. Would you?
I would do it on the condition that it comes with the long-term deal.
Yeah.
You know what
Right.
I mean?
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Because he's going into his 5th.
yeah,
So you
I'm
just,
not
it's like one thing if you're
I'm
picking up
not
his
doing
option.
I'm not spending a first round draft pick on a 1-year rental because we're talking about their say Mims or Guyton or somebody falls there. You're talking about a 5-year rookie tackle that could be your tackle for cheap for the next 5 years to protect Lamar
Yeah.
versus a 1-year deal. So, I mean, so you'd have to get a long-term deal. I mean, I just look at like Roquan Smith, right? You gave that 2nd round pick and it stunk not to have it. But
It was worth
the
its weight
way
in
he
gold
just
for
turned
sure.
around, yeah, and they did that without like the guarantee that there'd be a long-term contract, but you're not doing it without thinking that's where you're going. So, and they, they've done that a few times where they like trade and then they get those long-term deals. Marcus Peters, I think even going back to um, Anquan Bolden, although they didn't have to give up that, it was much less draft assets. So yeah, I would do it if you already had the deal or you knew the deal was going to be there, because then you have him locked in for 5 years with Lamar and Zay. But I'm not doing it for a 1-year rental. Not even close.
I'd be shocked to see them give up.
But think about it.
First-round draft
Think about
capital.
it. I'd be shocked. I'm just
Yeah.
saying what I would do.
Yeah.
I'd be shocked, because it doesn't even look like the 49ers want to give him up.
Right. Right.
But yeah, I'd be shocked if it would happen, but I would do it if it was all locked in.
We'll have to see. John Lynch, like you said, it seems like those both sides are locked in. So we'll have to watch this. But again, this is all sparked. If you're just joining the live stream, this is all sparked because somebody on social media noticed that Lamar's most recent follow on Instagram was Brandon Aiyuk.
Hey, before we totally move on, I gotta play this video. So,
Yeah,
after the divisional round, SportsCenter was doing their typical top 10. Am I frozen, by the way?
yeah, I think so.
Okay, I'll play this video, and then I'll come out and come back
Okay.
in. Um, but, anyway, yeah, so after the divisional round, SportsCenter was doing their top 10, and Ayuk's play from the divisional round was number 2. Of course, Lamar's number 1, and I just thought this was hilarious how he was like, "What the?"
Number 2? Who they gonna have at 1 then? Let me see this shit. Man, get the
Imagine that sitting in your Bay Area apartment, right? And it's like just you're in the morning time and you're watching yourself on Top 10 Sports Center. That's got to be like a pretty
That's pretty
empowering
cool.
feeling.
Pretty cool. Alright, I'm gonna come out and come back in. You got ads coming up?
Yeah, while you do
Alright.
that, I'll tell everybody about Manta Sleep, our brand sponsor, of course, that supports us not only in season but during the off season as well, and we appreciate them. So, the Manta Sleep Mask is a great way to improve and enhance your sleep. If you haven't already gotten this, uh, look at this. It gives you a little bit of everything: side sleeping, back sleeping, whatever it is. The Manta Sleep Mask Pro gives you everything you could possibly want. 100% blackout for deeper sleep, C-shaped eye cups for unbeatable side sleep comfort, zero pressures applied on your eyelids or lashes. They've got advanced materials built in with ventilation for unmatched breathability. That's the Manta Sleep Mask Pro that you see on the screen, which is what I have as well. And so whether I'm catnapping on the weekends or whether I'm trying to grab 7 full solid hours in the off season right now, because I don't get anywhere near 7 hours in season, the Manta Sleep Mask Pro is a great way to improve your sleep. And if you're interested and you're in the market for a sleep mask, use code VAULT10. That's VAULT10, and you'll get 10% off your next purchase at checkout. MantaSleep.com. All that information can be found in the show notes below. A special thank you to Manta for continuing to believe in what we're building here in Baltimore and beyond. So let's keep the conversation moving, though, because Chris Sims and Mike Florio on Pro Football Talk had a recent conversation just about the Ravens and as it relates to the Chiefs. And at one point, obviously, the Kansas City Chiefs were Baltimore's kryptonite. They're not anymore, but maybe they still are in the postseason, as we learned last January. What was it? In January. Here's Mike.
And the reality is, to the point we were talking about around the Super Bowl, Chris, the Ravens, John Harbaugh, Lamar Jackson, they may just be the Karl Malone, the guys that had to play second fiddle to Patrick Mahomes. And look at where the Ravens have been caught between Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. It's kind of amazing the Ravens found a way to win one during the combined Brady-Mahomes dominance of the AFC. But that's one of the big reasons why the Ravens haven't been able to cash in on this desire to go all in and win it every year. They haven't had a Tom Brady. They haven't had a Patrick Mahomes. They're hoping they can make their Lamar Jackson into a guy who can be as successful as those two have been.
Okay, so for those of you who aren't NBA fans, allow me to just educate you real quick here. Sarah rejoins the show, and you grew up in the Utah area, so perhaps you were a Jazz fan growing up and a fan of Karl Malone. How could you not be? Because this guy was everything and more for the Jazz. 2-time MVP, 14-time All-Star, 2-time NBA All-Star Game MVP. I mean, he had everything. He was a 2-time Olympic gold medalist, basketball Hall of Famer in Springfield. The guy was everything except from a championship standpoint. He failed throughout that legendary career, Sarah, to find a championship. And I think what stings even more for him and for fans of the Jazz from that era, they fell back-to-back years, did the Jazz, to Michael Jordan's Bulls. back-to-back NBA finals in the 97 and 98 seasons. And so when Mike Florio, and by the way, here they are, right? Look at these two. What battles that they had. I mean, I was only a kid, but I've watched a bunch of docs, and The Last Dance, of course, was really good, kind of recounting this. And, well, don't ask Scottie Pippen about The Last Dance, though. He's not a huge fan of that. But so the analogy that Mike used, and just in case, and just so you have it fresh in your mind too, here's that clip once more from Pro Football Talk.
And the reality is, the point we were talking about around the Super Bowl, Chris, the Ravens, John Harbaugh, Lamar Jackson, they may just be the Karl Malone, the guys that had to play second fiddle to Patrick Mahomes. And look at where the Ravens have been caught between Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. It's kind of amazing the Ravens found a way to win one during the combined Brady-Mahomes dominance of the AFC. But that's one of the big reasons why the Ravens haven't been able to cash in on this desire to go all in and win it every year. They haven't had a Tom Brady. They haven't had a Patrick Mahomes. They're hoping they can make their Lamar Jackson into a guy who can be as successful as those two have been.
Yeah, so I grew up, Bobby, in Colorado, but I went to college in Utah. I have a lot of family in Utah. So, at the time, the Nuggets were terrible. Now they've been like awesome. It's been great to watch them. I vividly remember watching, because I was a junior, the first time they played in the playoffs or in the championship game, and then I was a senior in high school when they played the second time in '98. And man, did I love that Stockton to Malone connection. And those losses stung. That flu game, I thought we were going to have that.
Yeah.
I mean, just whatever. Brings back terrible, terrible, gut-wrenching memories. And I love The Last Dance, but I hated rewatching those. But here's why Mike's wrong. He's close, but he's wrong. And he even pointed out why he's wrong. The Ravens beat Brady. And they could have beaten him twice, if not for some Lee Evans and Cundiff shenanigans going on, okay? They beat Brady. And we never got that as Jazz fans. We never got that with Stockton and Malone. They never came back and got their revenge. They lost. Now, a better analogy would have been if the Jazz lost that my junior year of high school and then went back and won my senior year of high school, but they didn't. They lost back-to-back. The Ravens lost to the Patriots and then went back and they got their revenge in Foxborough, okay? So on their way to a championship game. So it's a pretty good analogy, but I think it falls short. And just like Joe Flacco and Ray and Ed and Suggs and all those guys got over the hump, I think the Ravens are trending that way. I think they're going to do it. I mean, obviously, I think they're going to do it, but it's a decent analogy, but I think he's wrong because the Ravens already got over the hump and the Jazz never did.
And then that was pre-Lamar, right? And he even noted that, to your point. But specifically as it relates to Lamar and this current era where he is 6 years into this chase, does that analogy match up?
I still don't think so yet. I mean, because Stockton Malone, they retired very quickly after that. Lamar is still, he's not on his rookie contract anymore. And he's not like the young guy that he's always been, which is crazy. He's a veteran now, but I still think that, I mean, thanks, Fatsmo. Is that what you were in high school? I feel old.
Should I tell them where I was in the 97-98 finals? So the 97-98 finals, I would have been 3 and 4 respectively.
Oh my gosh. I mean, listen, we know that listen, I've got teenagers. You're not married yet. You don't have any kids. I mean, we know there's an age gap here for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Spoiler alert, right?
Yeah, spoiler alert. So anyway, I lost my train of thought because now I'm
back to Lamar. The analogy as it relates to Lamar.
I just think that Lamar's too young to make that analogy yet. Like, how can you write off? He's 27 now.
27 turned in January. Yep.
Yeah, and I know there's going to be people out there that say he'll fall off earlier than most quarterbacks because he runs and yada yada yada.
I just Derrick Henry around.
Yeah, exactly. And with whatever, we've been down this road before. I mean, Lamar's injuries have been in the pocket, and they haven't been like a J.K. Dobbins or a Keaton Mitchell type injuries. You know what I mean? It's not like, it's not like I just think there's too much time to go there yet. I think there's too much time. The
Fair.
Ravens are still ascending, whereas this was like their peak. This was their absolute peak. And they had been, Stockton and Malone were together for years and years and years before they even made the championship. Lamar's been so much closer earlier in his career than those guys.
Fair. Jury's still out. Jury's still out.
Come back to me in 5 years. We'll talk again.
One more note, and I do like Chris Sims, so I kind of feel a little bit bad about how I'm about to drag him here, but I think he'll get a good kick out of this. So Sims was talking just about how, the Ravens hang around and talking about how they're fundamentally sound and built like from their core, organization wide. And he butchered a few names. Watch this.
But they really are trying to get to the Super Bowl every year.
Yeah, they got a culture that expects that, and I think that's what Harbaugh's built. It's Steve Bisciotti, right? The owner. He's obviously instilled that.
Bisciotti.
Excuse me. I know.
Bisciotti.
Ozzie Smith, right? What he kind of indoctrinated into the front office and all that. They're one of the best run organizations in football. There's no doubt about it. Yeah, no splash signings this year, maybe, right? Because, hey, they're really good. People want to pillage their players. But the fact that they bring back Justin Madubuike and then get Derrick Henry in free agency.
I'm watching it today. I'm at the gym and I'm listening to it and I'm rewinding to make sure that I just had the triple take. First of all, when Florio made sure to correct him on the Bisciotti, it was hilarious. So he goes Biscotti, right?
Yeah,
And Florio goes Bisciotti, and then Sims goes Bisciotti, Bisciotti.
And then right into Ozzie Smith.
And then Ozzie Newsome gets called Ozzie Smith, and Justin Madubuike to the boot. I mean, it was just one after the other.
It's so funny. You have ground to laugh at him, and I'm chuckling over here more out of like that's me. Like I've butchered so many names. Like, and you're usually the Mike Florio between the two of us, and everybody does call him Madubuike, by the way. Yeah, like I can chuckle out of like commiseration because I've been Sims before and you're Florio. You get to laugh at him because you rarely butcher names like me and Sims do.
Oh man, I just thought it was a fun Friday little snippet to add in there because Chris is a good dude, and I'm sure like Mike might get to a point where it's like, all right, corrected him once, and then he does it a second time with Ozzie, then a third. All right, to heck with it, So anyway. Let's continue the conversation. What's up, Ing? Shout out Ing Raven for being with us right now. Hope your off season's going well down south, brother. And Sarah, what was this note on Matt Miller's draft?
Oh, I was going to bring it up over in the wide receiver section because we were talking about Aiyuk and all that kind of stuff. Sorry, it got out of order here. But basically, ESPN did, and I can see I'm frozen again. Bobby, this ticks me off. I just got a brand new computer.
That's all right.
It's not all right. I'm going to Apple. We're having conversations. There's no reason why this should be freezing up right now.
At least you're smiling. You
and is there a thumbs up for you? Can you see a thumbs up there? Like, where did that come from?
Yeah, what the heck is that?
What is going on here? I'm going to the Apple store this weekend. This is unacceptable. Anyway, so ESPN did an article for all 32 teams of draft needs and all that. So they had like their individual beat reporters, like Jameson just talked about the needs, but then they brought in a couple of guys talking about what they're hearing kind of in the back end of is Matt Miller and Jordan Reed. So Jordan Reed's write-up is it's the section of what we're hearing about Ravens draft. And so he said wide receiver and offensive tackle are two positions that dominate conversations when speaking with sources close to the Ravens. Baltimore hasn't been shy about helping quarterback Lamar Jackson with first-round wide receivers. And here we go, Bobby. This is for you. And that trend could continue.
Here we
First round receiver trend could continue. Then he names some tackles that they could also like Jordan Morgan, Tyler Guyton. And then it says at the end, but here's something that could throw a wrench in either option. I've heard that trading back from number 30 to land extra draft capital might be in play.
Okay.
So, which we already know, but
Yeah, that can always be in play for them, right?
they can always
they-
be in play. We just know that Eric DaCosta made other GMs know, hey, if I'm giving to give up a 5th year, you got to give me a premium.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
I would just say this. I still think like the likelihood, I guess it depends on the board. It depends on the board. It depends on the board.
For sure. All right, let's get to some news that came down the timeline yesterday, which inspired probably a question from Dev Panchwa, who we enjoy, who works for Russell Street Report. The Ravens. This time last year, the Ravens signed Rock Yassin in free agency, towards the tail end of free agency, and what they thought was maybe it wasn't at the tail end. Was that like a mid-level move, Sarah? From what you remember, I can't remember when it got done.
Rocky
Yeah.
Okay, so no, it was one of the earlier. I mean, it wasn't like first day of free agency.
Yeah.
But it was before the draft, and Ian Rappaport came on our show and said that Rocky Scene got Marcus Peters money.
That's
and
right.
I feel like it was like a $7 or $8 million deal.
Okay.
Something like that.
Okay.
So it wasn't like chump change. It wasn't like the biggest signing ever, but it wasn't like a 1-year veteran minimum for like just over $1 million.
Right. Which is what essentially just took place. Well, we don't have those figures yet, but just so you know, you're kind of spot on. It was just south of that. So Yassin 1 year worth $6 million.
There we go.
This was this time last year. Anyway, the reason why we're bringing it up is that the 49ers signed him to a 1-year deal yesterday. And being that he really didn't emerge as the key replacement to Marcus Peters, it just kind of begs the question, like, how do you look back at Rock's year? Is it more so like his role was stolen due to the emergence of Brandon Stevens, then obviously Ronald Darby when Marlon Humphrey went down? Like, how do you look back at that? And then maybe that leads us to where Dev was, and he wants to know who's going to be the Brandon Stevens of the 2024 Ravens. Every year, it seems like there's someone who emerges on their, quote, promotion path. And
I like that. I like those words, promotion path.
I do too.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if that player that Dev's kind of asking about here is not on the roster at this moment.
No. Then it doesn't count.
That's true.
We're talking about a promotion path. Like you've been like Brandon Stevens was drafted and he took his time to move up and then became like the 17-game solid starter. So there's plenty of guys that could be it. To me, it's more like, okay, so
plenty that make you feel good.
Yeah, like I think that Cleveland could be on the promotion path for sure. If you want to count Travis Jones.
Oh, shoot. I'm sorry. I thought he was talking
Simpson.
about the corner position.
No.
I thought he was strictly...
No. The question is...
I got you.
Come on, Bobby. You just quoted the promotion path, bro. Where are you at?
I'm with you.
Okay.
I was... Because we went from Rock to Brandon. I'm thinking corner, and then I didn't...
I got you.
I'm with you now.
Yeah. Now, who's the guy that's been kind of... Because to Dev's point, and that we've talked about a couple times, where the national media is like, oh, the Ravens will for sure take a step back. And they very well could after losing as many free agents as they have. Mm-hmm. But it's not guaranteed because we don't know who is in this promotion path.
Okay.
That's which is the point. Like nobody last year at this time was being like, nobody was saying Brandon Stevens was going to be a 17-game corner starter because he was going to go back to safety.
Yep.
And so that's why you just don't know who the Ravens are all the way going to be. You know who their blue chip players are, but who's going to be the guys that emerge? So Ben Cleveland could be one. Travis Jones could be one. Trenton Simpson is got the path paved to be one. But
that's kind of the shoe-in, though, isn't it? Like if there was a shoe-in, wouldn't it be Trenton?
Well, they could still potentially draft a guy. Everybody's got to have competition.
Josh Ross will be competing in training camp. You can bet that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but to me, if we want to go another level, because Brandon Stevens was so out of nowhere, whereas like many, like you, to your point, like everybody's predicting Trenton Simpson, a lot of us are predicting Ben Cleveland. To me, it would, if we're going not just promotion path, but we're talking about somebody who like is out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like to me, that would be more like it would be almost silly to predict that Daniel Falele, right, will be like a 17-game starter at right tackle and will have as good of a season as Brandon Stevens. But that's really where you kind of have to go. It's like somebody who you're just not even expecting.
For sure. Maybe like a Tavius Robinson at
sure. Like he could
edge.
maybe like if somebody were to get injured, you know, kind of the way Rocky Sean did and then Marlon Humphrey did. And so it presented opportunities for both Brandon Stevens and Darby. So like, is there like an injury there or something? Then all of a sudden Tavius Robinson comes out of nowhere.
I do like that though. I like the way that promotion path.
Yeah.
My mind was specifically on the corner position, but yeah, there's a bunch of different candidates out there. So let us know who you think that could be in the live chat. All right, so we got the Rock news out there. He's joining the San Francisco 49ers. This is interesting right here. I'm glad you picked up on this, Sarah, because I did as well, and then I forgot to just put a note on it. But right after the Deontay Hardy signing came down earlier in the week, Tylan Wallace, who obviously was punt returning for the Ravens last year at times, he retweeted his own tweet from December 10th that was celebrating that walk-off punt return touchdown in a win over the Rams.
I love it.
Okay, the caption is "Gots to be more careful." You see the little play with words there.
Yeah.
And then ZJ Beatdown here from X at @perp_black veins. Tylan Wallace, he noted exactly what we saw, and that was the fact that Tylan casually reminded fans after the signing of Deontay Hardy, the newly signed expected return man. So it's like, you want some training camp competition, Sarah? By the way, you're unfrozen. Welcome back.
Well, it may not be the Apple thing. It might be. But now I've lost you on my screen. Like, apparently I'm back, but I can't see you.
Oh, you're so back.
Oh, my gosh.
And Tylan's wishing, Tylan understands that he's going to be back too if he can win a spot over Deontay Hardy. So perhaps a little training camp battle on deck here.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just so lost I can't see anything. Just keep talking, Bobby.
That's okay. I just found I'm glad that you added this in here because I saw him retweet that, and it might have been a matter of minutes after the Deontay Hardy signing.
Yeah, but I will say this: like, I like it.
Absolutely.
It's just like, all right, let's go. Let me just remind you, I want competition everywhere. There's few people on this team who just say, you know what, you don't need competition. Roquan Smith, Lamar Jackson, you guys are like, we know who you guys are. You're our leaders, okay? Yeah. But everywhere else, I want competition, and so I like it. I like that Tylan took the signing as like, took
it personally.
Took it a little personally. Knows it's. And by the way, he's like the nicest, most upbeat guy ever. So I don't know that he's like angry about it, but he's like, all right, let's go. And let me just send you this little reminder as we do this.
Let's go. This is a contract year for Tylan, if I'm not mistaken. So going into one, and he hasn't been much of a factor as a wide receiver over his years. He was able to earn his keep last year because of the special teams. He got his number was called.
Mm-hmm.
After injury, and he responded. So now it's going to be down. Okay, who can win the special teams battle between he and Deontay Hardy? And what does that mean moving forward for Tylan? Because from a wide receiver standpoint, you can't see him at this point. I mean, he would definitely be one of those like shocks like Brandon Stevens if he were to have an integral role as a wide receiver. But I'm with you. I love this. This will breed excellence in the form of competition in a few months from now when training camp launches.
Love it.
Keep the conversation moving. Some stats here from PFF on Derrick Henry, still having the juice. Most rushing yards after contact in a season since 2019. There's only 2 players on this list, but 4 different seasons. Derek owns 3 of them. So what is it?
Jeez.
Let's go big screen here. 2020, 22, and 23, with Jonathan Taylor being the 21 season. But the yards after contact were all north of at least 1,200. He did not go below 1,257. 1,257 a year ago, 1,268 in 22, and 1,490 in 20. Once he gets going, Sarah, look out. He just bounces off of you. So
But people bounce off of him.
that's true.
More
People bounce
accurately.
off of him. Yeah, exactly.
He's the brick wall people are bouncing off of.
People bounce off him. Yep. And you know why? Because of that content we dove into a week ago, looking at him compared to another NFL running back. It's like child's play. It's ridiculous.
I can't.
How
wait
about
to
the
see
Pro
him.
Bowler? How about the Pro Bowler Tyler Linderbaum? The one offensive piece to the puzzle on the line that you feel good about in the coming years. The 2023 NFL season consisted of over 600 pass blocking snaps for number 64 in the middle. He allowed 0 sacks and 0 penalties. 610 pass blocking snaps. It's pretty good numbers there.
He's one of those guys that well, I'll put him in like the Lamar and whatever category. I don't know that he needs competition. Like he's it. He's your guy.
Right?
He's your
He's
Pro
the
Bowler.
guy.
He's the
He's
guy.
the Pro Bowler. There's a reason why that generational label was attached to him coming out of Iowa. And, man, there's something about these Iowa players and the Baltimore connection. Got to absolutely love it.
Yep.
Odafe Owe spending part of his offseason working a football clinic in his native Nigeria, growing the game. The Ravens account put out an awesome photo
It's cool.
of Odafe handing out what looks to be T-shirts to some young kids. You know, he and David Ojabo are extremely prideful of their roots. They got very, very late starts in the game of football, which is part of the reason probably why, they've been late developers, if you will, at the NFL level. But both are really, really good dudes. And it's still hard to believe they're high school teammates, too, when they ultimately got to the U.S.
It's so their story is so bananas.
Yeah.
It is crazy. To both, and then David Ojabo, didn't he go to Scotland? Was it Scotland for a while?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
then he comes over.
Yep.
And
Surprised
then
he
they're
ended
high
up playing
school
rugby.
teammates. And then now they're and now they're like NFL team. It's so bananas. It's like they were. You ever meet people that come into your path and you're just like, I just feel like we were meant to like know each other and to be friends and all that kind of stuff. It's like one of those friendships.
It's cool to realize that dream at the pinnacle of your profession, like they've had a chance to do now these last couple of years as teammates. So anyway, we wanted to remind you guys once more on this stream that coming up in under 2 weeks from right now, our inaugural marathon draft party live stream will take place at Soundstage in downtown Baltimore. That's Thursday, April 25th at 7 o'clock. Soundstage, for those of you who aren't familiar, is in Baltimore's Inner Harbor, right across the street from Power Plant. $40 gets you inside the door. Tickets are available right now at Ticketmaster. That will include food, and it's going to be catered by my friends at Clean Cuisine. Really excited for a lot of you to try out what I was eating literally all football season long. We had a partnership with them on the Bobby Baltimore side of things, and I would have weekly meal prep food waiting for me at the doorstep. And it was just a great way, an efficient way, I would say, to work throughout my busy season. So they'll provide the food. There will be a cash bar. There'll be special guests, different giveaways, and of course, an opportunity to watch what Sarah and I do live together, because Sarah's flying in from Columbus for this event. The stream itself of ESPN, as we work our way up to the 30th overall selection, will be on the video boards. And I just can't wait to get after it with you and have all of you guys in person. And if you can't join us in person, it will be available, of course, as always, on YouTube and across all of our social media sites. Ing is in the house, man. And I think we got to get Ing involved that night. Little 20-minute segment, 15-minute segment for sure.
Absolutely.
We'll be hitting you up, Ing. I don't know.
If he,
Actually, I don't
if
know
he
what your
can,
plan.
who knows what his channel is going to be doing on draft night.
I was going to say he might be doing one of his wild marathon live stream parties that he does for all games. But
There we go.
we'll be in touch, Ing, for sure. We got
Hey,
our meeting coming up next week.
one quick hit. We don't need to play it, but I forgot to get to this. So
RG3 and
RG3.
Darren, right? Yeah.
Okay, so I already knew the story behind the Raiders kind of poaching Darren Waller, which is that they saw him working out pregame, and they were like, "Holy crap, who is this guy?" Okay, but I thought I was under the assumption, this is what happens when you assume things. I was under the assumption that like he just was doing his like normal workout. They just happened to see him, yada yada, all that kind of stuff. Well, according to RG3, Darren Waller was purposely putting on a show for their GM. Like he saw their GM. And so he's warming up. RG3's throwing in passes like in the end zone, kind of in front of the goalpost. And he's like, hey, RG3, throw it higher. So RG3's like, all right. And so kind of throws it up towards the bottom of the goalpost. And he says, he goes up pretty high and catches it. And then RG3's like, yo, throw it even higher. He's like, oh, okay. All right. And then like 3 times he tells RG3 to throw it higher. And on the third one, I mean, he just skies for it. And he's doing all of this right in front of the Raiders GM. And so, the next day after the game, he was posted off the practice squad to the 53-man roster. And it's just like, I did not know. I knew that they saw him. I just didn't know that he purposely was putting on a show doing that. And it just goes to show you, Bobby, you take advantage of the opportunities that are in front of you, no matter how small the opportunity seems. Like, go out and get yours. Go out and do it. Put on a show and just take wherever you have an opportunity. You got to grab it. You got to seize it.
Tight end rooms in Baltimore.
Oof.
Never lacking. Never
lacking.
Ever lacking. Be curious to see if Darren suits up and plays this season. I've been hearing some rumblings that he has not made a decision yet on that to see if he's committed for the 2024 season. So we'll have to see. But that's such a great story, and it just shows you the roster, the depth chart, just how much talent that they've had at that position over really the entire existence of this franchise's history. So we've got to make sure to shout out and thank some of our returning patrons who support us through Patreon. Make sure I bring these guys up on the screen. Kevin Jackson, Jalen Price, thank you both for believing in what we're building. Kevin and Jalen do a monthly shout out. So they support us at a $4.99 level tier on a monthly basis that just helps us out on the back end, makes us go, if you will. And it's a great way to show your support. So patreon.com/RavensVault podcast is where you can find all the different level tiers that we offer. There's a link to that in the show notes below, along with tickets to our inaugural draft party coming up in under 2 weeks. So that's a Friday lunch hour live stream for you. Appreciate you guys for dropping by. We've got at one point we had over 2,200 strong concurrents. We want to get that number to, I think we want that number to legit, like I want a 10,000 nugget on the opening night of the draft. Yeah. Can we do that? I think we can.
Good about that. I feel really good about that.
There's going to be a lot of options.
Hi, our current record is like what, 6,000?
Well, I think it was probably during free agency.
Yeah.
Right? Is that what you meant?
I think it was between 6 and 7.
Yeah, the opening day of free agency was definitely up in the 6 to 8 range, I think, somewhere in there. But anyway, thanks for stopping by as always. We're available in the audio only section of podcasts wherever you get yours, Apple, Spotify, Google Play. Ratings and reviews, I should say, are always super, super helpful if you have 30 seconds. And if you have another 30 seconds, it would be great if you could like this video, subscribe to the Vault on YouTube, and hit that notification bell so you get a heads up in terms of when we're dropping content. And we'll continue to tinker and experiment with this Ravens Lunch Hour live stream format that we've been doing the last several weeks, meaning the next one will be on Monday, 12 noon. So have an awesome weekend. Enjoy the Masters. Tiger is, what is he? +2. Bryson in the lead at 7 under. So he's got a
I'm
little
not
bit of
a
work to do.
Masters follower, Bobby. I just am not. Sorry.
Come on, partner.
Maybe you can get me into it.
The
I don't
greatest
know.
week
We'll
of the
see.
greatest week of the year. That hurts my heart.
Sorry. I take it back.
You know, in Jim Nance's words, it's tradition unlike any other.
All right.
You do you. You do you over there. Golf is not the pace at which everybody enjoys to be at, especially when it comes to watching the game. I think a lot of people that like, fast-moving events and sports have a hard time getting into golf, but there's just something so sacred about those grounds.
Oh my gosh, here we go.
It's just sacred. It's just,
shut it down.
looking at Scotty Scheffler right now being swarmed by his caddy and his swing coach on the side. He's taking putt after putt. You've got grandchildren in the background with their grandpa and grandma. It's a all right. We'll finish it off that way.
You feel
Happy
better
Friday,
now?
everybody.
You
Yeah,
feel
I do.
better? Okay.
I do. I'm ready to just be completely distracted by everything that I need to do the rest of today by this screen in the background. So anyway, appreciate you guys. Thanks for dropping by as always. And we'll catch